Hi everyone, this is Mrs. J, and today we're going to talk about the surface area and volume of a sphere. So let's start by talking about the properties of a sphere. So the radius of a sphere is a segment whose endpoints are the center and a point on the sphere. So a sphere is really just imagine a three-dimensional circle. So the radius goes from the center to the sphere. A diameter is a chord that contains the sphere's center. So it goes from the sphere to another point on the sphere, but it must go through the center. And those are the same, the radius and diameter are the same in a two-dimensional circle, so it's very similar to that. Here are the two formulas we'll be working with today. To find the surface area of a sphere, you do 4 times pi times the radius squared. And to find the volume of a sphere, you do 4/3 times pi times r cubed. So let's look over here at example 1. First, we are asked to find the surface area of a sphere with a radius of 2√2 feet. So the radius is really all you need to know to be able to use either of these formulas. So we're simply going to plug them into the surface area formula. So we're going to do 4 times pi times 2√2 squared. This you could do in your calculator, but just as a little bit of a review, if I'm squaring 2√2, you have to square the 2 in front, so 2 times 2 is 4, but you're also going to be squaring square root of 2, and when you square root, they cancel out. So this turns into a 4, this turns into a 2. Just a quick review on how to square a number like this. Okay, so this we can plug into our scientific calculator. You can use the pi button, and we will get approximately 100.5 feet squared. Remember to square your units for area. Okay, so in example 2, we're asked to find the volume of the sphere with a diameter of 8 centimeters. So if the diameter is 8, really the only extra step we need to take is finding the radius, which is always going to be exactly half the diameter. So it's 4 centimeters. And now we're ready to use our volume formula. So we do 4/3 times pi times 4 cubed. And again, we can plug this into our calculator to get a decimal approximation. And we should get approximately 268.1 centimeters cubed. Remember to always cube your units for volume. Okay, let's try example 3. So here we're asked to find the surface area of this sphere below, which is actually only half of a sphere. So strategy-wise, we'd find the surface area as if it were a whole sphere. And then, of course, we'll divide that by 2, but that would only cover the portion that's on the outside. That would only cover this portion. So if we want to also include this part, we'll have to find the area of this circle right here and then add that to half of the original surface area. So that's our strategy. So let's start by finding the total surface area as if this were a full sphere. So you'll see that it was given to us that the diameter was 80 meters. So that means that our radius is 40 meters. So let's start by finding the surface area. 4 times pi times 40 squared. We'll get a decimal approximation in our calculator. Okay, this should give us approximately 20,106.2 meters squared. So remember, this would be the surface area if it were an entire sphere. So first we're actually going to take this and we're going to divide it in half. So let's cut it in half. And that leaves us with 10,053.1 meters squared. Now remember, this is only going to be the outer portion of our surface area, because if you look at a full sphere, right, it doesn't include any type of base. So now we need to find the area of this circle so we can add it to the red part. So let's do the area of the blue part now. That's just simply a two-dimensional circle. So we're just going to use pi r squared to find that area. I'll call it surface area. Maybe I'll do it in blue, or I'll highlight it here so you know what we're finding. So we do pi times r squared. We'll get a decimal approximation for that. And that's approximately 5,026.5 meters squared. Again, this is the blue portion of our surface area right here. And now all we need to do is add those two together to get our total surface area. So our final answer should be 15,079.6 meters squared. Okay, let's have a look at this last example. So here we're asked to find the radius of a sphere with the volume of 500 thirds pi yards cubed. So here we're going to actually be working backwards. So I'm going to start by just writing the formula. 4 thirds pi r cubed. And since we are given that the volume is this value, we can substitute it for v. So 500 thirds pi equals 4 thirds pi r cubed. If we multiply both sides by 3, these would cancel out. And if we divide both sides by pi, these would cancel out. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll divide both sides by 4 to isolate r cubed. So that gives us 125 equals r cubed. And just like when we have a square, we take the square root. When we have a cube, the way we solve for it is by taking the cube root of each side. So we take the cube root of each side. So a cube root cancels out a cube. So it's r. And then to simplify something like this, our calculator can do it, but if we were to do it by hand, essentially we're looking for a number that when it's cubed is 125. So we can do a little factor tree. I'll do it on the side. Very similar to when we simplify square roots. So we could say it's 25 times 5, 5 times 5. So those are prime factors. And again, for a cube root, we're looking for pairs of 3. So I can see that we do have a pair of 3. So we have 5 times 5 times 5. So that means that the cube root of 125 is exactly 5. So that's going to be a radius. Okay, that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching.